Sherkhan Murtaza, Moon and Aisha, first book, novel, theology. Where did you come from, sweetest sage? I came from my childhood, he said. There is no one among adults who didn't come from childhood. No one is born with a beard and a mustache. I'm one of them. My mother's name was Aisha. I don't know if it's a lot or not, but I'm over 60. I don't know if it's a sin or sick, but I've written a book. I received the title folk writer. I can say that everything I've written was brilliant, but many of them, and the best ones, were born from my childhood, from the influence of Yas. Growing up, I saw a lot, traveled all over the world, but all this thing couldn't affect me like my childhood. I was in Paris. I didn't dream of Paris. I was in Egypt. Egypt didn't enter my dreams. I went to China, Mongolia, India, Pakistan, Iran. I was across the ocean in Texas, Chicago, New York, and they didn't enter my dreams either. A long time ago, I studied in Moscow for 5 years. I didn't have it in my dreams too. But I always have my childhood. I dream of Monbulak and Aksu-Jabaghala every day. I always dream of my hometown. I always see Aisha in my dreams. Murtaza rarely enters my dream because I was only 5 years old when he left. I barely remember him. When you get older, what you see today will be forgotten tomorrow. But I still remember what I saw and heard as a child. Then why don't I write about it? In the name of the ancestors and Aisha, I took the pen in my hands. It is said that there are people who remember everything they saw after coming out of their mother's womb. When I was born, my house was red, someone said. I don't know, it is clear that I'm not such a brilliant genius, because I can remember my first memories. What were they like? I look farther and farther, I can't find anything. 3 years, 4 years, everything is vague. Only when Aunt Ainik was carrying me on her back, one of my galoshes fell off, and I vividly remember how the poor old woman went back to look for the fallen galosh. There must have been a time when I couldn't run freely on my own, considering that I was carried on her back. And I know for sure that Murtaza has had a Russian friend. His name was Grishka. The eastern wall of our house. Murtaza was wearing a yellow sheepskin coat made of velvet material, and a cap made of the same fabric. Its edges were made of black lamb's wool. The beard was darker than yellow. Grishka was standing next to him. Murtaza was sitting on a boulder. Probably it is still springtime, because I was sitting leaning on the house and watching sunbeams. Grishka is a blacksmith, a carpenter. Now Amirakul's house in front of our house is a forge. The room on the west side is a carpenter forge, and the room on the east side is a blacksmith forge. Grishka on one side, Namitkul on the other. I guess that the current conversation is about Namitkul. I probably didn't listen on purpose, but how can you cover your ears when two adults are talking next to you? Grishka speaks fluent Kazakh. Grishka says, it's been more than a year since Namitkul's wife Zilika passed. His daughter Nazipa also left. Now there are only his son Baybosun and Namitkul. We have to do something, Mureke. Yeah, you are right, says Murtaza. I have been thinking about it for a long time. I have a brother-in-law in Rale in Kyrgyz region. He says there is a woman in their village whose husband died and she is still single. Something will come out of them. Then hurry up and propose, says Grishka. And now about Grishka. He has a son and daughter. The son is older than me. His name is Grishka. Russians are interesting. The father is Grishka and the son is also Grishka. Isn't there enough names? Aisha asked about it and Murtaza said that the father gives his son his own name not to be forgotten. They say that the name shouldn't be erased. What about Murtaza? I asked. Doesn't he worry about it? Why is my name Barsхан? Why they didn't give me name Murtaza? I said. Later, long after Murtaza passed away, I asked this question to Aisha and she said, Murtaza's name will not disappear as long as you and the Batarkhan are here. I don't know why, but Kurmash wasn't mentioned. Grishka's daughter's name is Natasha. We are the same age. When I go to the carpentry, Grishka Senior is standing and grinding a long board. Then it rolls up and flies into thin shavings. Natasha ties it to her blonde hair and decorates it. She wraps it around my head too and giggles. After that, the three of us, Grishka Jr., Natasha and I, will go to the Birdenbed swamp and pick flowers. We tear off bright red flowers of castor bean and henbane. A blue butterfly is landing on a purple flower of henbane. We want to catch it. The butterfly flies away and we start running. He flies crookedly so that we don't catch him. We start running the same way and sometimes we fall. Catching up with him, we got to the stream and the butterfly flies away. So they have wings, while we don't. How could God give man everything but not wings? What does he feel sorry for? There are many mysteries that we don't understand. I am surprised now. In which language did we, those 4 or 5-year-old Russian and Kazakh children, speak? I don't even remember. It is clear that I don't know Russian. The children of native Russians probably don't know Kazakh either. So how did we understand each other? Amazing. But I vaguely remember that we used to play together from morning till night. Probably there is a special feature of 4 or 5-year-old children to understand each other without language. Adults lose that peculiarity when they grow up and divide my language, your language, and become quarrelsome. The Grishkas disappeared in one night. I asked my father. They moved to the neighboring village, he said. This is how I lost my blonde hair friends and joined to my old friends. You can be all alone, can you? If I estimate now, it must have been the 1st of May 1937. Murtaza took me to the neighboring village. It was holiday and the first time I have seen such a celebration. There were a lot of people. Everyone seems to be dressed in red and green. A beautiful world, music. I saw wrestlers fight there. There was a horse race. People were having fun. Then suddenly I saw Grishka Jr. out of the crowd. I wouldn't notice it, there are many children, but I recognized him by his hair. It's like a white sparrow got into the middle of many black sparrows. Murtaza, who was holding my hand, was distracted by something and didn't notice how I slipped away. He also recognized me and was happy. Grishka grabbed my hand and took me out. Then I found that there are many people with blonde hair. I don't understand their language at all. The women are dressed in red and were dancing. Someone was playing noisily on an instrument that looked like a box. "Oh, little boy, good, good," said the Russian woman and gave me a round sweet bread. There are many sweets. The woman stuffed candy into the breast pocket of the fustian blue shirt that Aisha had made. She would put more, but I didn't have another pocket. When I touch my pants, there is no clogging, no pockets. After that, there was no place we didn't visit with Grishka. One Russian man was leading a brown bear and playing with him. The bear walks on 2 legs like a man, or he rolls over, rests his head on the ground, freeze, and fall down. I have never seen such an interesting scene, and I couldn't get away from him. But I was afraid to approach. Grishka Jr. wasn't afraid. He went to him and gave a candy. The bear caught it, bowed his head, and bent his knees. It must mean thank you, and then we laughed. In this world, we can't stop anyone who laughs. Whoever laughs, let him laugh. Whether it's Kazakh or Russian, you will understand immediately. I don't even know what many Russians are saying and doing to each other, but I can immediately understood that they were laughing. Even with a child's immature brain, I learned that laughter doesn't need a translator. Then the crowd began to disperse. When I ran to a place where my father was, he wasn't there, and I started screaming. Some people said, "Oh, whose child is this? He got lost." "Whose child are you?" Someone leans down and looks at my face. "Murtaza's." "Your father was looking for you," someone said. Then he looked around and said, "Over there, your father might be among that group of people." He pointed to the people who were going to our village. Shouting and screaming, I started running. There was a same branch lying on the road, and grabbing it, I was running restlessly. Finally, I caught up. There were a lot of old people: Millikhan, Pishin, Bayjuman, Alpay, Musa, Shakalak, and my father Murtaza. As soon as I come, I punched my father in the back with my small fist. Obviously, he didn't feel anything. They were talking about something, and I got more angry, and I hit his master with a stick. And then, suddenly, I think it was Millikhan turned to me and said, "Enough!"